Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still perfectly playing out the bullish divergence, while the price is still perfectly playing out the short squeeze in the short term. But we are now running into this very important area of resistance that we need to pay attention to, and that's actually one of the reasons as to why I've just taken some profits on my Bitcoin long position. So in just a moment, I'll be revealing my exact trading strategy for the price of Bitcoin, and of course, I'll also be talking about Ethereum, which is now potentially breaking out above a key point of resistance in the short term, while the price of Chainlink is now running into this massive area of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at some Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a look at some Bitcoin news today, because just yesterday, we actually saw a massive net inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. It was actually the largest net inflow that we've seen in a long time, in many weeks. And this chart right here at least shows the numbers for this week so far, and of course, last week. And first of all, on the 21st of April, we saw a net inflow of almost 400 million, as I talked about in my last video, around 381 million US dollars. But just yesterday, on the 22nd of April, we saw a net inflow of over 900 million US dollars, almost $1 billion coming into the Bitcoin ETFs just yesterday. And in case you're new to all of this, these are spot Bitcoin ETFs, which basically means when we're seeing inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs, that money essentially goes to the ETF providers like BlackRock and Fidelity, etc. And then they have to buy actual Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin, in order to back the ETFs. And so in other words, just yesterday, in one single trading day for the Bitcoin ETFs, we saw over $900 million worth of buying pressure, worth of demand for Bitcoin. And so this was potentially one of the reasons as to why we saw a decent pump in the price of Bitcoin over the last one day, obviously. And of course, we saw other signals like, for example, a short squeeze, a bullish divergence, which I'll cover later in the video. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin price charts today on this 4-day time frame, technically speaking, the super trend indicator has not changed over the last one day. So getting straight into this weekly Bitcoin chart, and at least for now, this weekly time frame has not changed over the last one day. So technically speaking, there is still a bearish divergence to watch out for on these larger time frames. But as always, it is important to understand the difference between the different time frames. So even though we have a bearish divergence on the weekly chart, that does not mean we can't pump in the short term. Once again, as I've been saying this entire time, yes, we can see short-term bullish price action. And for example, we saw something quite similar actually around here during pretty much early 2022. Obviously, while we were playing out a larger bearish divergence, we actually saw a pump in the price of Bitcoin from this low point to this high point of around 40 to 50% towards the upside, while a larger bearish divergence was playing out on the larger timeframes. And so once again, we can of course see short-term bullish price action. That is what is now playing out, which once again, I've been talking about here on the channel, but not necessarily massive momentum towards the upside. Like for example, this move, this was around a 170% move, almost a 200% move. That, at least right now, is unlikely, at least based on this chart right here. And so obviously the different timeframes gives us different perspectives on what's happening. Of course, if we're zooming into the immediate short term, we can see a lot of bullish price action. But when we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, at least for now, this is a relatively small move for the larger picture here for the price of Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, as I've also been mentioning here on the channel, we're potentially in the recovery stage. We're seeing declining bearish momentum out of this histogram within the MACD indicator. Basically, we're moving towards a bullish crossover, which once again, I've been saying many times recently here on the channel. And in fact, just over the last few days in particular, I've been comparing this signal to what we saw around September 2024. But of course, for around a month now on the channel, I've been talking about how we've already seen the worst of this bearish move right here. The worst is already behind us because we were slowing down in the bearish momentum as seen in the histogram within the MACD indicator. And that's been the case for roughly a month now, as I've been saying for a month now on the channel. And so simply based on the weekly Bitcoin MACD, this is telling us that we're very likely in the recovery stage, coming out of the correction, potentially getting ready for another bullish movement, at least based on this signal right here. And just before taking a look at my my exact Bitcoin trading strategy and the things that I'm watching here in the shorter term. First, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades at the moment over on 2bit, so I'll make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses, like for example, up to $50,000 in trading rewards just by trading crypto using the link below this video. But if you're not one of these larger traders here, you can still claim a $30 sign up bonus just by making an account using the link below this video, and also a 20% deposit rebate up to a max of 200 USDT. So for example, if you deposit $1,000, you get a $200 bonus, but only if you use that link. And on top of all of that, if you use the link below this video, you're automatically upgraded to VIP level 1 trading fees, which basically means you get a massive discount on trading fees. You get lowered trading fees over on 2bit, but remember, only if you use the link below this video. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, that first or second link below this video. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want 2bit as an exchange, there's also BTNX as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video. And if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees over on BTNX. That is a lifetime discount, by the way. That's a discount that lasts forever on your account. So definitely something massive that you need to claim using that link. And on top of all of that, of course, BTNX is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, and right now, obviously the price over the last couple of days has continued that breakout beyond this significant area of resistance that was holding the price of Bitcoin down for over a month here, and that was sitting in between around 86,000 to 88,000. And obviously, I've been saying many times recently here on the channel, if the price of Bitcoin simply breaks out above 88,000, expect a quick move beyond 90,000 up towards these next points of resistance. And that's exactly played out as I've been talking about. But right now, we are running into some key points of resistance. First of all, we're potentially already breaking past this point of resistance at around 91.5 to 92K approximately. But we also have this area of resistance based on the volume profile indicator on this 3-day time frame sitting in between around 96 to 97,000. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, obviously right now the price of Bitcoin is still perfectly playing out this bullish breakout here above this descending line of resistance, and also still perfectly playing out the bullish divergence. As I've been saying since all the way back down here, I've been saying expect bullish price action, or at the very least a bit of choppy sideways price action as the most common outcomes from a bullish divergence. And considering the fact we've not yet confirmed any invalidation signal to invalidate the bullish divergence, at least for now, it is still currently active, which means we should continue to expect the bullish divergence to keep playing out here in the short term. But just keep in mind the RSI on the daily time frame is getting very close to overbought territories. It's not there just yet, but it's getting very close to overbought territories. And so that basically means that we're potentially starting to run out of room towards the upside. Once again, we're not there yet, so we still technically have a little bit more room towards the upside here, but sometime over the next few days, I'll not be surprised if the price of Bitcoin starts to slow down and see some sort of short-term cool-off, whether that's a bit of a pullback or maybe a bit of a sideways consolidation, basically just cooling off a little bit from all of the bullish price action to help to reset the RSI. That is a likely scenario at some point in the next few days. And this is also coinciding with the fact that the price of Bitcoin is now perfectly running into this golden pocket area of resistance. If we're looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool on the logarithmic settings, from the all-time high at close to 110,000 down to this swing low at around 74,000 approximately, that places the golden pocket sitting in between around 94,500 to 95,500 approximately. And in case you're new to all of this, the golden pocket is the most important Fibonacci area on the price chart, so that will likely act as significant resistance, at least for now in the short term, for the price of Bitcoin. So this was actually one of the reasons as to why I have taken a bit of profits out of my Bitcoin long position, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But looking at some other support and resistance levels based on these Fibonacci retracement levels right here, once again, we have the golden pocket, but if we break out beyond the golden pocket here, with ideally candle closes confirming above around 96,000 and especially above around 97,000 based on this resistance right here, in that situation, the next Fibonacci level of resistance is sitting at around 101,000. And then once we start to see a breakout above 101K, then we're basically heading towards the all-time high. First of all, around 107,000 will likely likely find some resistance around there. And then, of course, we're basically heading towards the all-time high after that, if, of course, we first break out above these levels. But for now, definitely focus on that approximately 95K level, give or take. So around 94.5 to 95.5K. And as for support levels to watch out for, at least based on this chart right here, we have the 50% retracement level sitting at approximately 90.5K. And below that, of course, we have major support at around 86 to 87,000, and also really in between 86 to 88,000 based on previous resistance flipping into new support. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, obviously that breakout and short squeeze has perfectly played out over the last couple of days, which is what I've been talking about for almost a week now. Since right around here, I've been saying it's extremely likely we're going to break out very soon and see a short squeeze, thanks to a lot of liquidity that was building just above the price of Bitcoin here in the short term in this Bitcoin liquidation heat map. And so you could check basically any one of my videos over the last 1 week, and in that video you'll see me talking about this massive liquidity just above the price of Bitcoin in the short term and how it's extremely likely we're going to be bullish very soon, going towards the upside to take out that liquidity in a short squeeze. And that's simply due to the fact that usually, not always, it's not a 100% guarantee, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity, especially if it's relatively close towards the price like this was. But now that we've already wiped out that liquidity, obviously the price has already broken out beyond $90,000. If we're actually zooming out on this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, the next major point of resistance or next major point of liquidity really to pay attention to on this heat map right here is sitting at approximately 100,000. And so the bullish scenario is still more likely compared to the bearish scenario, at least based on this chart right here. But once again, we cannot ignore points of resistance. So now that we're running into the all-important golden pocket area of resistance, once again, that was a reason as to why I took some profits recently from my Bitcoin long position. And so if we're actually taking a look at my exact trade right here, this is over on my 2bit account. Once again, 2bit link below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But you can see here that right now the trade is only around a $72,000 trade, whereas yesterday it was around a $100,000 trade. And so you can see right here, once again, I did take some profits off the table out of that long position. So obviously I'm not selling any long-term Bitcoin holdings or anything like that. This is just talking about this short-term leverage trade. And so right now, my current position here is simply still long on the price of Bitcoin, but I have my stop loss in profits above my entry. And once again, I took a small amount of profits out of the position. So at this point, it's basically a win-win. If the price continues up, I continue to profit from the remaining long position. But if the price just crashes, that would hit the stop loss in profits and close the trade in profits, as I've also taken some profits out of the trade as well. And the reason why I have not closed the entire trade is because I still think that we're actually looking more bullish than bearish overall, especially with this weekly Bitcoin MACD showing signs of a recovery here. And so once again, I'll not necessarily be looking to short Bitcoin right now or anything like that. Once again, I'm still long on the price of Bitcoin. I've just taken some profits out of that trade because I think it is likely we're going to struggle around this point of resistance here. And as I said earlier, we're getting close to overbought on the daily time frame, meaning very soon it is very likely we'll see a bit of a cool off, a slowdown from all of this bullish price action just in the short term. And so that is my exact trading strategy. And obviously so far it is working out very nicely here. So hopefully you followed along with this trade. You would be making some decent money right now with this bullish breakout and that short squeeze. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, right now Ethereum is experiencing a decent bounce from this area of support, sitting in between around 1.4K to 1550. So once again, as I've been saying for a long time, expect a lot of support, especially around 1,500. And as I pretty much always say, the price of ETH, along with a lot of the major altcoins, follows similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. So of course, with Bitcoin playing out that decent pump in the short term, that helps the price of ETH and a lot of the major altcoins. So if you're an Ethereum holder or an Ethereum trader, really just pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing to figure out what is most likely going to happen for Ethereum. And technically speaking, when it comes to the larger trend or longer term trend for Ethereum on this weekly time frame, at least for now, simply based on this price structure, we're still currently looking more bearish than we are bullish. bullish, but once again, during these larger bearish trends, we can see short-term pumps along the way. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, as of recording this video, the price of ETH is running into this Fibonacci retracement tool right here, this Fibonacci level sitting at just underneath 1.8k. And so expect some short-term resistance around 1790 to 1.8k. But if we could see a breakout beyond 1.8k, and ideally with a daily candle close confirming above 1800 here, in that situation, we could possibly see a continued bullish relief all the way up towards just above 2000, around 2080 to 2090. So basically just underneath 2.1k. And then it would likely find a decent amount of resistance at close to 2.1k based on this 38.2% Fibonacci level being the second most important Fibonacci level behind the golden pocket. And of course, that's also exactly where we've previously found a resistance. And that could also be setting up a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern, as we could see if we continue a bullish relief in the short term towards that next Fibonacci level at close to 2.1k, and then we see a rejection from that level. That's exactly what we actually need to see to form a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern, which, by the way, would be a short-term bullish pattern here if it forms and confirms. But obviously right now we're still a long way from potentially confirming that. And so those are some of the signals and levels and patterns that I'm watching form for the price of ETH. And once again, just pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing to figure out what is likely for Ethereum and a lot of the altcoins. And with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the 3-day time frame, right now Solana is still perfectly playing out this bullish divergence, which I've been covering on the daily time frame, but it's also visible here on the 3-day time frame as well. So that is still the situation right now. Continue to expect a bullish relief for the price of Solana as one of the most likely outcomes from a bullish divergence. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, just over the last one day, we've now started to break out above this Fibonacci level of resistance, which was sitting at around $147. So technically speaking, that could likely become a new support for the price of Solana, once again around 146 to 147. And the next price target or next potential major point of resistance to watch out for the price of Solana is sitting at around $167 based on this 50% retracement level, and also previous significant support at 167 flipping into new resistance. And if we were to see a confirmed breakout above 167, we could also find some short-term resistance right here based on these highs here sitting at around 179 give or take. And of course we have the golden pocket area of resistance in between 191 to almost 200, so around 190 to 200. So that is still the situation for the price of Solana right now. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP, technically we're still playing out the larger bearish divergence on the 3-day time frame, but we're getting close to possibly invalidating this bearish divergence finally after playing out for months. Because if we're looking at the 3-day XRP RSI, we're potentially starting to see a recovery here, especially if we start breaking out above some of these previous highs in the RSI. That would be an invalidation signal to help to invalidate the bearish divergence, telling us that we're likely going to start a recovery now. But once again, we still need to see a little bit more of a recovery first in the RSI to be more confident that the bearish divergence is actually over on this time frame right here. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, at least for now, we're still within the descending parallel channel, which is effectively a bearish trend. But of course, during this descending parallel channel, we can see the occasional short-term bullish relief. And just over the last 1 to 2 days here, we've now successfully broken out above the center line for the descending parallel channel, and that was sitting at around $2.09, give or take. So now that we've broken out above that level, and now that we're also breaking out above these previous highs, it is likely we could continue a little bit more of a bullish relief here, perhaps up towards around 245 to 250 as the next major point of resistance. And as for support, we'd likely find supports based on previous resistance flipping into new support. So roughly around 215 to 220 is where I would expect some short-term support for the price of XRP. And as always, simply just follow my Bitcoin analysis to figure out what is most likely going to happen for XRP and a lot of these major altcoins here. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, right now Chainlink is starting to run into the all-important golden pocket here, sitting in between around 1490 to 1550. And now, technically speaking, this is the golden pocket area of support based on this previous retracement tool right here acting as support, but this has already acted as major resistance in the past, as we can see here, sitting in between 1490 1490 to 1550, especially that 1550 level acting as major resistance. And so even though we've not yet actually invalidated the bullish divergence, which means technically speaking, the bullish divergence is still currently active, of course, the price is likely going to struggle around the golden pocket, which means the price is trying to play out the bullish divergence, but running into a major obstacle, which could cause maybe some short-term rejections or maybe a bit of choppy sideways price action as the price basically tries to flip bullish here, but struggles at this resistance. And so that is a likely scenario in the coming days, just in the short term here. But if we can finally surpass that obstacle, especially if we break out above 1550 with a daily candle close above that level, that would be extremely bullish for the price of Chainlink. And that would actually be the first significant change in price structure that we've seen in a long time, pointing towards a possible reversal out of this larger bearish trend if we confirm a breakout above 1550 with a candle close above that level. And so that is definitely a critical level to pay attention to. And as for other support and resistance levels, I would expect some short-term support at around just above $14 and also more support at close to $13 here. And as for resistance beyond 1550, the next major price target would be sitting at around 1750 to 1760. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.